One of my favorite new bands in the last few years is called Wunderhorse, and they have a new album out, which has been out for a little bit, called Midas, and I'm so stoked that they are here to join us for a little yippity-yap. Guys, welcome. Thank you for your time.
No worries. Thanks for having us.
I've been really looking forward to this. This is like your West Coast debut, pretty much. How are things?
Good.
Yeah, coming to the end of the tour. Yeah, feeling it a bit, but we're still here.
You're still here.
Yeah.
This is like your first real proper tour, right? Of the full US as a headliner, because you've been here with Fontaine's
We've done
DC.
like a couple shows as headliners, but small ones, and off the back of recording, not much, not like this. Yeah.
Sure, yeah. Just for people to catch up, we've got Harry, Jacob, Peter, and Jamie. Great guys, great music, and I just, like I said, I'm a big fan of your music. I'm very curious as to how the audiences, the American audiences, how do you perceive them taking to your music? Because it's a little bit different than what I see on videos in the UK.
Yeah, I think the US crowds are still getting to know Wunderhorse. I think there's still a lot of work for us to do out here, and they're getting to know us a bit. There's been a few shows where I think they've resembled UK crowds a little bit. Philadelphia was
Philly was
good,
good.
and
Montreal was good.
Yeah.
Toronto, I know it's Canada,
but yeah, they're warming up. They're not there, but they're getting there.
I don't know if you've been keeping up, but the Philadelphia football team, the Eagles,
We just saw,
won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if you saw videos on social media of their fans.
I saw people going mental in the streets.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it doesn't surprise me that you say Philadelphia was one of the best
Yeah.
crowds that resonates with your music.
Yeah.
They
They were keen.
They're good.
They kept saying "Go Birds," but I didn't know what that meant at the time. And then afterwards, somebody told me.
Yeah.
I was like, "Do they think we're called the Birds?" Like, a little late, but it was yeah.
That should be your slogan now every time you're on stage at some point, right?
We'll remember it for next time.
Yeah.
And your music does speak to America in general. I think everybody in general, because it is loud, it's in your face in a lot of ways, but then lyrically it's very workmanlike, it's very relatable with feelings and emotions that you have been through, Jacob. A lot of the slower ballads and things have really touched people.
Yeah. Well, that'd be nice,
Has there been a particular song or a group of songs that you've noticed that people really taking to?
Well, funny enough, I think Midas, the record we just did, seems to connect more in the US. Having said that, we don't play very much of the first record, so maybe that's why. But there are, I don't know, definitely people react differently to different songs over here than in the UK, which is good actually. It's nice to see the new record getting some love over here.
This record was also recorded and pretty much produced here in the US.
Yeah.
In Minnesota, from what I understand.
Right.
And it definitely has touch points of American band influences, I'm sure you've heard, right? Was that kind of the charter coming in?
Yeah. I mean, that album happened so quickly. It was recorded and written all in a very short bracket of time. It's kind of only in retrospect you look back and you go, okay, yeah, there are some sort of US sort of touchstones there. But I guess I can't speak for all of us, but I was when I was growing up, I was more listening to American artists, American bands, and American songwriters. Some UK ones sort of thrown into, but I've always just naturally kind of gravitated to those kind of lyrics and that kind of style of writing. I don't know why. It's just what I like.
So those touch points being, from what I read, Elliott Smith, Neil Young, who is a Bay Area favorite.
Yeah.
He had the Bridge School benefit for many years. Who gave you that exposure to?
I mean, a lot of it probably would have started with my dad. When I was younger, kind of playing stuff in the car. He played a lot of Bob Dylan, a lot of Joni Mitchell, Neil Young, that kind of thing. And then from that, I guess more got into the sort of more 90s stuff when I was a teenager, as a lot of teenagers do, I guess. The whole sort of Seattle sound or whatever you call it. So yeah, it's really, I think our music, those are the two strongest kind of influences, I would say.
Jacob, this started as a project on your own. You had a previous incarnation with other projects, the band, and things like that. How did you choose the rest of the guys to join in?
Well, I was kind of more lucky that they wanted to actually play with me, you know, because I think everyone in the band is very musically more advanced than I am in lots of different ways. So yeah, I mean, I've known Harry the longest, Pete just behind, since we were sort of like 14, 15 years old. But we never actually played together. We were always friends, but we never played in the same projects because, you know, business and pleasure and all that. And then I'd lived with Jamie in London for a few years, again, never been in a project. And it kind of just, it was one of those things is when it was time to make some new music, it was, it's like, well, this would work, you know, this kind of combination of people. Harry joined a little bit later. He joined after the first record, but that was actually where we really kind of found our sound. Harry's like the missing piece. It all kind of sonically started to make a lot more sense and felt like more of a unique expression sort of than it had previously. But yeah, I don't know.
What really resonated for you two to say, yeah, Jacob, I'd love to join?
Well, I mean, I'd yeah, like we sort of lived together at a time when we were both playing in different projects, but often on the same bill, you know, in like various venues in London and stuff. So I was always like around, you know, and then I think when Jacob stopped playing with his former band, I don't know, I think I was probably one of the first people that you sort of jammed some new things with.
Yeah.
What about you, Pete?
I can't really remember exactly when I started playing with you, but I just kind of knew that I was having like a lot of fun. I hadn't played bass in too many bands before that. I'd done a lot of guitar playing in the past, but I just had a lot of fun like learning those songs and playing them in a tiny little basement in Whitechapel.
Sean's place.
Yeah, it was just, I mean, it was just really fun, you know. And I think when you played in a lot of bands, you kind of know when something is working and when it feels good.
Harry, Jacob said you were the last to join the band. Mm-hmm. What was the music that you gravitated towards?
When I was really young, I remember really getting, like when I was like 10 years old, I was getting really into the Appetite for Destruction album. I just liked something that sounded really heavy and really hard, and it sounded kind of dangerous, which I liked. And yeah, that I started from there, and I went on a tangent after that. Really,
it's still a great record. I don't fucking care what anyone says. It's a great record.
It is. It's awesome.
How fast did it take for you to learn some of the solos and like to play Welcome to the Jungle or Sweet Child of Mine? Like that.
I was really impatient. I really never. I didn't learn many actual Guns N' Roses songs.
He still doesn't learn the songs.
Seriously?
I get really
doesn't
impatient.
even know our songs.
You get impatient. He doesn't even know Wunderhorse songs.
No idea.
I just get too impatient trying to learn songs.
Are you self-taught?
Mostly, but I did have this guitar teacher actually called James, and he was a science teacher, and he would come over and we would just jam, and we didn't really like you know, whatever I wanted to do that day, I'd just tell him, look, I want to learn this like Metallica song or something, or like I want to know how to play a guitar solo without sort of by improvising, and he would just show me, oh well, this is the pentatonic scale, simple stuff, but we'd just jam, and it wasn't like any formal lessons. I used to have formal lessons. I started with formal lessons for like 2 weeks, and I was not gonna stick with that. So yeah, I just
wow.
He was the main reason why I stuck with guitar. To be honest, he was really brilliant.
So who's a better teacher, him or Jacob?
I wouldn't know how to teach Harry anything about the guitar. Harry's much better guitarist than I am.
I would disagree, but
so for those catching up, Cub was the debut album, and that was pretty much your project, Jacob, and then you brought the rest of the guys on. And then this album, Midas, was more collaborative. How did that feel for you, Jamie, for example, in having more input?
It was good. I think it was like an exercise for all of us, I think, in just letting go a bit. I mean, to compare it to the first record, where I think Jacob had sat on a lot of those songs for a long time, and there's a pretty strong idea about how they should go. I mean, that's one way of doing it, but then this couldn't have been more opposite, really. And just hitting record, basically, and seeing what everyone did, and obviously we tweaked it and we talked about it, but we had 3 weeks. Like, you couldn't deliberate it too much. So, so yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'd never made a record like that before.
It's just fantastic. Drums and bass are the backbone of every song and every band, right? Pete, is there a particular song that you added your fingerprints all over that you're really proud of?
I mean, I quite enjoy playing Emily quite a lot, because I had kind of a chance to play a couple of like little bass chords in there, and I feel like particularly drums and bass wise, that song has some interesting movement in it, and that, I think, that and Girl, actually, where I kind of freed up the bass part a bit more.
Yeah, the bass and drums really add a great deal to Emily. It's like, if you play it acoustically, as it was kind of, as the bones of it was written, it's a very, very different song. It is in a very much darker world when Jamie and Pete put their prints on it, which really brought it into, because we weren't really sure if that was going to work. It was kind of one of the last ones to go on the record, and we kind of got in there and it wasn't quite working, and then we made it super heavy. And I remember Craig, the producer, was like, "Oh yeah, I like this one," which is always, if you get the nod from Craig.
I think it's Craig's favourite one.
Craig's
I think
favourite,
he
yeah.
told me Emily's his favourite one.
Midas is one of my favorite songs on the album, and Emily as well. Was there a particular theme that you were trying to go for in terms of the lyrics?
Not really. I mean, it was done so quickly. I mean, most of that record was written when we were in the studio, the majority of it, and it was more, I think, if you write a group of songs in such a short period of time, naturally they're all going to come from a similar place within you. And it's only looking back at them where you go, "Oh, that's how I was feeling," or "That makes sense." You can kind of join the dots after the fact. But yeah, it is quite dark, quite a dark record, and there are some overarching themes kind of running through it. Sort of everything in that album to me sounds really like it's something that's been kind of, I've said this before, but it, like, discarded or thrown on a scrap heap or something. It's like they all sound like salvaged songs, like sort of found in a sort of broken state, state of disrepair, and kind of tinkered with till they're just about functioning. Like, that's in the records, kind of this whole mass of like nuts and bolts kind of shaking around.
But it wasn't like that. It wasn't like there was a stockpile of...
No, they all just came super fast, So, I mean, a lot of what you're hearing on that record is the songs in a state of becoming. They're in an embryonic stage. They're not actually fully realized yet, which is, I think, what kind of gives the album, well, for me, the kind of that is the magic of the album, which, if you're an industry person, is your worst nightmare, the idea of spending a load of money and getting a band to go in a studio and they haven't got any songs. But actually, I think sometimes when you roll the dice and take that risk, it yields the best rewards. I mean, if you got the stones to do it,
Really appreciate the time, guys.
You're welcome. Thanks so much.
And great to meet you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
too.
Best of luck with everything.
Thank
It's
you.
the guys of Wunderhorse right here on B-Sides.